Hey guys, it's Dr. Boney for probably the last time for a few of you. First off, I want to thank you guys for filling out the survey. That helped a lot in the redesign of the course moving forward. A lot of your comments were the same and they made a lot of sense. I agree with everything you said. So second thing, let's talk about the exam. I'm going to go fairly quickly over this, but I cannot stress enough that I would say compared to all the other exam study guides, this greatly relates to the exam, pretty much every question. Because it's so specifically detailed, you may ask the question of, well, how deep do I need to go with some of these things? And so that's kind of what I'm going to cover now, and I'm going to show you a couple examples from the test. So for example, like gene therapies for cancer, there's different types of therapies. Just generally know what those therapies would be. And kind of how they work. Moving down, these are just generalized terms. In terms of the databases, you'd want to be able to know what they're used for. So, for example, if you want to know, like what fundamentally why you would go to a certain database and what it has in it, these are the ones that you'd be responsible to know generally. Cancer discoveries using next generation sequencing. So you want to be a little, fairly aware of NGS. And how it can help us with screening for different cancers. How different oncogenes are activated would be, important. There's a fair amount of discussion on that, and knowing what an oncogene is, obviously. MicroRNA and cancer cells. We talked about different kinds of RNA, and definitely want to first know what microRNA is. And, if you're in the business of making a protein, microRNA is not what you want to have inside you as a cell. So there's a little hint on that one. Obviously, the way that cancer cells can stabilize, cancer cells, as you know, are not very structurally sound cells, but for some reason they do a hell of a great job of dividing. It's one of the few things they do very well. So how are they able to do that? Ways we can express do gene expression screening. Things like hybridizations would be an example of stuff and whatnot. Again, down the line, a lot of these are just kind of knowing what the terms are. Anytime I have, for example, where it says different types of tumors, you definitely want to know what the different types of them are. When I say etc., obviously that means there's probably a few more different versions as well. So you want to make sure that you know that. In terms of oncogenes and cancer genes and tumor suppressor genes, not only know what they are, but kind of what their generalized function is. Obviously, P53 is a tumor suppressor protein, and kind of how that would or how that would play a role in apoptosis. So moving down the line, a lot of these, again, are very, very specific, which is great, and help you to kind of focus your studying, for lack of a better word, as we get in the line. These questions represent the vast majority of the questions that you would see. So if I am being as specific as giving you a word or a statement from an exam, you are expected to know it in as much detail as you possibly can, and you will be good to go on that. So let me go ahead and show you some exam questions. Also, a quick reminder before I go over some of these. That this is going to be on chapter 10 and 11, and there's 51 questions. You have an hour and 30 minutes, and the exam is a Saturday or Sunday. You can take it either one, and that will be the last thing you have. Also, once you take the exam, do not look at the grade that it gives you. Again, I have to go ahead and hand grade a lot of these things and look for abnormalities and questions that just may not be good. So I will obviously alert all of you when the grades have been updated. But here again is a question that relates to most appropriate gene therapy for treating cancer. So obviously, if I expected you in the study guide to know gene therapies for treating cancer, you should be able to identify one of these at least. Here's a question talking about gene expression screening, and one of the items here obviously is not true. So this again would relate to the question on gene expression screening. This one's kind of an easy one, but again, in line with the different types of tumors, which again, usually I asked you to know the different types. So this is a good example of you being able to show the different an understanding of the different types of tumors by an example. So this is a really good question for one. Here's one with an image talking about genetic abnormalities and development of cancer. So again, this directly from the exam study guide. So these are just a few of the examples of the types of questions that you would see. And so once again, any of the questions where less than 50% of the students answered it correctly will be dropped. So you can either all get together and decide to, get them all wrong and the whole class would do well. Or you can go ahead and study. I would go with the second option. So on that note, I bid you farewell, and I very much enjoyed Zooming with a lot of you and conversing with a lot of you over the semester. So if you have any questions, let me know.